Okay. Yep. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. Thank you for coming today. As Mataji said, today's pastime will be churning for nectar from the milk ocean. I'd like to again take a moment to thank our temple management, His Grace Ramchandra Prabhuji and Shishila Gorangi Didi for coordinating this effort and giving me this opportunity. So I'll begin with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you again for being on today. Today we'll be talking on the pastime churning for nectar from the milk ocean, and I'm just going to be merely repeating everything I've heard from Shastra with some of my realizations, so please forgive me if I deliver that wrong or say anything wrong and correct me. Thank you so much. And this is a very, very beautiful, elaborate pastime. So we'll be covering it in a nutshell, covering it very compact. So if you would like to go deeper, I will in the end, give a resource for where we can go deeper into this. 1 second. Okay. So just to start with the background, the story of churning of the milk ocean is a very commonly known story. But so what happened? Why did this churning occur? So we're first going to cover that. So the story behind this entire pastime is based on a previous story where Lord Indra is traveling on his elephant, and he's going somewhere, and while traveling, Durvasa Muni is also strolling around, and Durvasa Muni catches sight of Indra, who is on his elephant traveling. And so, out of due respect, out of just giving some mercy, Durvasa Muni has a garland on, which he offers to Indra. So as we can see in the picture, he's giving this garland to Indra. And what happens is Indra is very, very overcome by his pride at this moment. And he gives a very disrespecting gesture and doesn't, it's a garland. We usually, given a garland, you take it, it's prashad and it's mercy. So we take it, we honor that, we respect that garland. But because of his pride, being overcome by his pride due to his opulence and power, he, instead of giving that respect to that mercy, he puts that garland instead on the trunk of his elephant. And this elephant doesn't have that intelligence to understand that this is mercy, that this is prashad, and therefore he completely destroys the garland under his feet. So Durvasa Muni, we know Durvasa Muni for being a very, angry, quick to curse person. So seeing that Indra is disrespecting this mercy, this gesture, Durvasa Muni desires to completely vanquish Indra's pride. And of course, his medium to doing this is cursing Indra. So Durvasa Muni curses Indra that he will lose him and the demigods will lose all his material opulences, power, wealth, possessions, etc. So, we can simply see this one act of Indra where he's not rendering the proper respect needed to Durvasa Muni. He should actually get off his elephant and, properly pay obeisances. But getting that mercy, he still didn't give that proper respect because he was so overcome by pride. He was so overcome by his pride for his opulence and his position. And because of this, he actually loses all of that. Him and all the demigods lose that power. And we can see how, how faulty of a leader he is, because his actions, he wasn't considerate that it's going to cost not just him, but so many people around him, the demigods who are under him. He's the king of the demigods. So therefore, they all lose power and their possessions. And what happens after is the demons, they gain all that power. They then take over all of that power, and now they're ruling the world. They're ruling the universe. And they completely defeat, they take over all of their opulences, they defeat the demigods. And so, we can see how the first lesson that I wanted to point out here is how pride in material wealth causes fall down. Pride in his opulence, in his possession, all of that led to his, not just his fall down, but to all the demigods fall down. And there's so many times, you can see so many instances in Shastra where Indra is always known for his offenses or committing upradha or doing something. Previously, we heard of the story of how he disrespected his very own guru, Brihaspati. And so these are those lessons that teach us kind of what not to do. Indra is that exemplary person that shows, how we shouldn't behave. So that pride completely crushed him. So at this point, the demigods have lost everything. They don't have any power. They're not, what happens is that all these demigods are in charge of different departments. Like we have departments here in the material world, state departments, national departments, to take care of the daily things that are going on in the world. These demigods similarly are held in charge by the Lord to take care of different departments. So Indra, for example, he's the god of rain. He gives rains, Vayu, wind, etc., etc. They take care of these kind of daily operations. So they're very needed in the world, and they have now lost their power. So all these demigods are very helpless, and what they do is they first go to Lord Brahma for help. They go to their grandfather Brahma. Oh, Lord Brahma, you're the creator of this universe, and we have now lost all the opulence, all the power that we have gotten by the Supreme Lord. And Indra admits that I screwed up, I messed up here. Please help us. So, they go to him with this plea. And Brahma, very, merciful, he understands that, these are like my grandsons. I have to help them. And of course, a, sensible person will chastise for their offense, but will not disown. So thus Brahma, he did not disown. He simply chastised, of course. So, he knew that this is a very dire, very, big problem at their hand, because now these demons who cannot control, they are not made, that's not their function to control the universe, to control the world and, the operations. If they are in control, it will just simply cause havoc. So Brahma knows this, and he takes them all to Lord Vishnu, takes them to the higher authority. And he guides them to Vishnu. They all plead to Lord Vishnu. He does prayers to get the Lord to appear, who comes then in his four-handed form. And again, he hears this plea of these demigods headed by Indra and Lord Brahma. And again, the Lord is very, very accommodating. So he doesn't disown them for their mistake. He simply, he notices that they come to the Lord for help. That is that standout factor with the demigods, that they went to the Lord for help, and therefore the Lord is very, very accommodating. So in his compassionate nature, the Lord gives a very unique idea to these demigods to solve their predicament here. And their unique idea, his idea, was to approach the demons to form a truce. Now we can understand that the Lord is telling now that these demigods to approach their enemy. They completely hate each other. They're, different, opposite in nature. But the Lord is telling them to form a truce, to form a team with your enemy is not, it's not an easy task. It's a very ego-shattering thing. So to get them to understand, to get them to, I guess, endeavor to solve their offense, the Lord tells them to form a truce and obtain, for a common goal, which is to obtain nectar from the milk ocean. And the Lord explains, the resources. He's like, use the Mandara mountain and use Vasuki as the medium, as the resources to help you churn this nectar. So furthermore, the Lord says that, go to them with this attitude to have a common goal and promise that you guys will share nectar half and half. So of course, if you promise them that you will 50-50 the nectar, they will of course want to help you. But what happens here is that the Lord obviously conveys that his intent is not for them to have the nectar. Why? Because if the demons become immortal tomorrow, it's going to, completely cause havoc. The goal is for the demigods to be immortal. So now we may ask this question, that isn't this cheating? How come the Lord is using these demons to help the demigods become immortal? Is this not cheating? Like how come Lord Vishnu can cheat? So here we must understand that this is not cheating. Why? Because it's for a higher purpose of protecting the world from the miscreants. So from these, he's using these demons as a medium to protect from these demons, because if they come in control, it's going to completely, cause catastrophe, cause havoc in the world. So this was very necessary for the Lord to do. And so we can understand here that the Lord isn't impartial. It's not that he's, favoring these demigods over the demons for some reason, but he's reciprocative. That is the nature of the Lord. According to surrender, he reciprocates. So because these demigods came, they surrendered, and they admitted that I screwed up, the Lord gave them the mercy, gave them that reciprocation. And another thing the Lord says is that when you go to the demons, make sure that to keep the peace, you agree to any proposal, any request, anything that they have, in the whole pastime of the churning of the milk ocean. Don't argue. And it's very crucial that they make that compromise in that sense for a higher purpose. And eventually Krishna says that, Lord Vishnu says that patience, if they're patient, there will be setbacks, there will be problems, but ultimately their patience will help them get to the goal. So the lesson here that I wanted to cover is cooperation for a higher purpose. We can understand here that the demigods and demons are completely opposite in nature whatsoever. The suras and asuras. The suras, the demigods, are in mode of goodness, and demigods are in mode of passion. They're always fight. They want, kingdom. They want everything for their own self, for their ego, for their material satisfaction. And the demigods are different in the sense that they are under the service of the Lord. So seeing here how the Lord is uniting these two completely opposite parties to cooperate for a higher purpose, to compromise. He's telling the demigods that they must compromise for a higher purpose. So, in our lives, we can see oftentimes it's very hard. Like said, they're making a truce with their enemies, and it's very ego shattering, very hard to, cooperate when you're not like-minded with someone, or someone's views doesn't match yours. To cooperate in that way, it's very hard. But seeing here how the Lord is trying to enforce this point that, this is for a higher purpose. It's not that, they're becoming any lower than the demons. They're doing this for a higher purpose, for the welfare of the world. So with that attitude, then these demigods go to request the demons. They go to King Maharaj Bali's kingdom, and they go and give this proposal that we would like your help for something. Now, these demons immediately, they grab their weapons and they're ready to kill them, because they're wondering why are these demigods coming in our kingdom? So then, the demigods calm them down and say, no, this is for a common cause. Would you like to become immortal? And of course, hearing immortal, these demons, eyes wide open, they're completely intrigued. So then they offer that, we know how to become immortal. We know the secret on how we can become immortal. There's a milk ocean, and if we both work together to churn that milk ocean, we can obtain nectar and split it 50-50. So of course the demons are, within a second agreeing to this proposal, because it's for nectar, it's to become immortal. But one thing to note here is that both of these parties in front of each other are agreeing to share this nectar 50-50. But in reality, both of them have the intent of deception. The demons are thinking, we will obtain this nectar and we will take it away from the demigods. And the demigods are thinking the same. Now, the difference is that on the demigod side, Lord Vishnu is there, and Lord Vishnu knows that there's a that they're being, this is for a righteous purpose, this is for the welfare of the world, therefore their intent, the demigod's intent, was not wrong. So moving forward, both parties have now agreed and are now preparing to churn this milk ocean. And so the first thing they need to do is prepare the scene, prepare the setting. So the Lord had told them to bring the Mandara mountain. So both parties go to pick up the Mandara mountain, very heavy, heavy mountain. And so they're carrying the mountain, and what happens is this mountain is so heavy that it crushes so many people from the demons and the demigod's side. And the Lord, seeing this, then comes himself to help them. He brings the Mandara mountain with Garuda to the milk ocean. Now next they need the object for churning. So they use Vasuki. So they request Vasuki, they summon him to help in this situation, help churn the for the nectar. And so then now they have Vasuki, they have the Mandara mountain, and now they're ready to churn the ocean. So now at this point, the Lord and the demigods go ahead to pick up the head of Vasuki, right, getting ready to churn. Now the demons, now they have this large ego, so their ego is completely shattered. They're thinking, how can we take the tail? We are, we're learned, we're all powerful, we're well educated, we are, controllers, etc., etc. It is below our dignity to take the tail of Vasuki. No, we can't settle for this. We want the head. We want the head. So now at this point, they're very stubborn. They want the head, and it's actually, the story mentions that this was a trick. Krishna knows, Lord Vishnu knows that the demons are very, very competitive with the demigods, and the Vasuki is actually a very, very poisonous snake. So to be carrying the head of Vasuki means that they're going to be very much affected by the poisons that come out of his mouth. So the Lord did this completely to trick them. And they were tricked, they were fooled. They now wanted the head of the serpent, thinking that it's more prestigious and it's more suiting of them to have the head. So knowing this, then the demons ended up taking the head, and the demigods took the tail. The demigods didn't argue. They honestly simply just with faith went with the Lord's plan. And this is where the Lord had, said, you have to compromise. You have to agree to everything that the demons say. Why? Because there's a higher purpose. They're petty. They're gonna want, they're gonna pick a fight over, who's gonna get the head and who's gonna get the tail. And if you give into that fight, then it'll, that unity for a higher purpose won't be achieved. So then the demigods understand this compromise and, don't argue. So then furthermore, they start churning the ocean. But what happens is there's no base. So the mountain is shaking, and these demigods and demons are getting frustrated. So at this point, again, the Lord intervenes, and the Lord assumes the form of Kurma and dives in. And, just a point to know, we can simply see how very much these demigods initially approached the Lord just with the attitude that, we want to reinstate our positions and please, Lord, help us. And the Lord could have easily, with a snap of his hand, given them their positions back. There was no, this whole pastime would not have happened. This was not really needed. With the snap, the Lord could have given everything back. But, the Lord didn't want to just give them the solution directly. The Lord wanted them to work for it. When these demigods endeavored for it, the Lord automatically gave them mercy. So as you can see, the Lord is, here there's a problem, and the Lord appears as Kurma Avatar. Now next there's another problem. Now it's not balancing from the top. So then the Lord appears as Sahasrabahu. As you can see in the picture, the Lord is seated on the top, and he is balancing the mountain from the top. So we can see here how the Lord, these demigods' endeavor, coupled with the Lord's mercy, coupled with the Lord's intervention, is what's going to lead them to success ultimately. And so now they're continuing to churn, and at this point, what happens is the Vasuki snake is really affecting the demons, and because of the poison excreted from his mouth. And so, even here now, Lord Vishnu interferes, and he empowers them. He gives them the strength because they're all devastated. They're all, they're all giving up one by one gradually. So the Lord intervenes here as well. So we can see how here in one pastime, there's already three forms of the Lord present, and it shows how all powerful the Lord is. Not only is he there as himself, he ends up helping them churn the milk ocean. He's there as the Lord Vishnu, he's there as Sahasrabahu, and he's there as in the form of Kurma avatar. So the lesson here that I wanted to cover is our endeavors coupled with God's assistance and mercy is what will lead to success. And as you can see here, the demigods are endeavoring for their effort, the demons are endeavoring, but the Lord is helping them. The Lord is providing the mercy and blessings needed. As we know, it's the month of Damodar Mas, and Rukmawati Mataji also very beautifully covered this yesterday, how effort is our department and mercy is the Lord's department. And in Yashoda Maya's pastime too, it was until the Lord sanctioned that she was able to bind him. So similarly, we can see that here, the Lord's sanction, the Lord's intervention is necessary for them to do what they need to do, for us to do what we need to do in our lives. So moving further, now at this point, finally, there's substances coming out of the milk ocean. And so the first substance that comes is halahala. And that is a very, very powerful poison. And everyone was devastated. Everyone was getting scared because this poison was spreading everywhere. So now the Lord gives this idea that let's go request Lord Shiva for help. Now, why did he go say, let's go Lord request Lord Shiva? He can, again, with a snap of his hand, completely, get rid of the poison, get rid of any obstacles. But he requests that let's go request Lord Shiva for help, because Lord Shiva is a very dear devotee, and this was an opportunity for glorification. It is mentioned when I was reading and hearing lecture, they really emphasized that the Lord really wants to see his devotees glorified. Whether it was the Mahabharata, whether it's this, in the Mahabharata, Krishna could have vanquished the Kauravas in a second, but no, he wanted the Pandavas to be glorified. He vowed to not pick up a weapon. He vowed to not intervene in that way. So the Lord wants to see his devotees glorified. And so therefore they all approached Lord Shiva because he was a very dear devotee, and Lord Shiva didn't hesitate at all. This was his sacrificing spirit as a leader to make that sacrifice and help these demigods. And it's interesting to see how, in this endeavor to get nectar, the first thing that comes out is poison which kills. So that setback easily they all could have given up at that point, think that we're not getting this nectar, how are we going to be immortal, this poison is going to kill us. But again, Krishna's mercy, Krishna's intervention, obstacle by obstacle, they were able to overcome by the Lord's mercy. So now furthermore, there's so many items that come out. Then there's Surbi cow, Uchi Shriva, which is a white horse, white elephant, Airavata, 8 male and 8 female elephants, sparkling jewels such as the Kaustubhamani and Padmaragamani, which is accepted by the Lord. Parijata flowers, apsaras, Lakshmi, Mother Lakshmi actually came here too, and she had her swayamvar with Lord Vishnu. That's a very nice other deep elaborate pastime that happened. And lastly, Varuni, which was wine, which was, something the demons were attracted by. But at this point, they're wondering, where was the nectar? So finally, the next thing that comes is Dhanvantari. Next person, we recently celebrated Dhanteras, and Dhanvantari is, expert in medical science. So he's holding this vase in his hand, and they're all asking, what's in this vase? So he says nectar. So now the chase begins, and the demons are fighting for this nectar. One demon is like, I'm gonna drink it first. The other's like, I'm gonna drink it first. And this fight is going on. And so the demigods at this point are very morose, very, sad, wondering, what are we gonna do now? So they approach Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu says, I have a plan. Don't worry, I have a plan. So the lesson here is shelter of the Lord is source of all protection. And, they took shelter of the Lord, and the Lord says, don't worry, there's a plan. And so understanding, there's a bigger picture behind, this. And sometimes in the moment we get stuck in our selfish motivations, but understanding that the Lord has a bigger plan and a more elaborate plan, and he's our well-wisher. So because they understood this, they were able to have that faith. So the Lord says he has a plan. Well, what was his plan? He appears as a female. He appears as Mohini Murti. And now Mohini Murti is coming down this path. One side, the demons are going with their fight, and the other side, Mohini Murti. And she is so captivating and so beautiful that the demons completely lose their senses. They lose everything due to lust for her. And they're all asking, they're like, who are you? Where are you from? Who's your father? Are you married? Are you coming here to look for a husband? And she just gives a shy, very shy smile. And so they have this inner satisfaction that everyone thinks that I'm gonna make her mine, or she's in love with me, she's looking at me. So every demon had this impression that she is looking at me, she's captivated by me. She gave that illusion in that way. So then she's coming closer, and these demons approach her, and they tell her that we're having this dispute over this nectar. Can you please fairly distribute this? Can you please help us out? And so she says, are you sure? Are you sure you want me to help you out? You never know. I could deceive you. I could cheat you. How can you trust me? We just met. So indirectly, she's already saying that, you can't trust me. I'm not necessarily going to favor you in a sense. So they're all given up by lust, and they completely just give in to her. So then she again says, okay, I'll do it, but you accept whatever I do, whether it's honest or dishonest. So that was her condition. So they again completely agree. So getting ready to accept the nectar, they all fast, bathe, they give charity, they do all the preparations, the ritualistic ceremonies, and she finally lines them up. So the Rakshasas, the demons on one side, and the demigods on one side. And she first cunningly says to the demons, she's like, how about I'll just go quickly give this quickly to the demigods. They seem to be very anxious, very nervous to obtain this nectar. And you guys are much powerful. You guys are much more mature, patient, etc. So I'll go quickly give it to them, and then I'll give it them just a little and bring the rest back for you. Don't you worry. So they completely give in, except one person. So this one person is Rahu. Rahu doesn't really trust Mohini Murti. He believes that something is fishy. So he takes on the body of a demigod and goes into the other assembly. And so now she's going and giving this nectar, and the demons see that this pot is gradually finishing. And they all feel that Mohini is lying, but they all still don't want to ruin relations with her. So they don't say anything. They're hoping that this charming woman, who knows, she might just want to marry me tomorrow, so I don't want to ruin relations with her. So they all remained silent. But when she got to Rahu, the demigods understood that this is fishy, that this is not a demigod. So before she starts pouring the nectar, but before it gets down her throat, they all realize that this is his throat. They all realize that this is Rahu, and immediately Lord Vishnu appears and cuts his head off with his disc. But his head still remains immortal because it still got that drop of nectar. And now at this point, there is massive fight. There's massive havoc. Mohini Murti turns into Lord Vishnu, and the demons know that they've been cheated, that they've been deceived. Now there's a fight between Indra and Bali, and that's a whole nother pastime. But at this point, the demigods, though, with their patience, with their endeavor, and with the Lord's mercy and intervention, eventually got their possessions back. They got they became immortal as well. So conclusion, to kind of sum this up, a quick one verse from the Bhagavatam. I just put the translation. So just to pose a question, what was the difference between the scenarios here? All efforts were conducted at the same time, same place, same circumstance, and the purpose was the same, but why was the result different? So this verse says the place, the time, the cause, the purpose, the activity, and the ambition were all the same for both the demigods and the demons. But the demigods achieve one result and the demons another. because the demigods are always under the shelter of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet. They could very easily drink the nectar and get its result. The demons, however, not having sought shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, were unable to achieve the result they desired. So the key difference, as we can see, was surrender. The key difference was the fact that the demigods approached the Lord for their predicament and the demons did not bother. So just a recap. Sorry, I know we're at the end of times. Just to list all the few lessons that we covered as a conclusion. So the first thing was how pride and material wealth causes fall down. So Indra, due to not respecting the Rasa Muni, due to his pride, he fell down and he caused all of the demigods to fall down. Second, cooperation for a higher purpose. That is, I feel, the main theme that I took away personally, that, you know, both of these parties, not like-minded, they're completely opposite in nature. But when they knew that the output, or when the Lord knew that the output of this activity is beneficial for humanity, it is for the betterment, the Lord enforced that they must compromise. The demigods must, be the bigger person and compromise their thoughts, compromise their opinions, their desires to achieve that goal. Thirdly, endeavors coupled with God's assistance and mercy is what led them to success. So this was a combination of the demigods and demons' efforts and the Lord's mercy that brought them to this point. And lastly, shelter of the Lord is source of all protection. So we can see how the demigods, having faith in the Lord, having this determination, knowing that the Lord is their ultimate their ultimate well-wisher, they had this faith and they completely took shelter of the Lord, agreed to everything the Lord said, and ultimately with patience they achieved their higher purpose. So we can understand that Lord always has a higher plan. He always has a more broad vision than we can see, of course. So that pretty much concludes today's story. Thank you so much for staying on. Please forgive me if I said anything wrong, if I had any fault in my delivery of some things I've heard from Shasta. Thank you for staying on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. It was really, really wonderful. You covered a lot in a short time. That, I like your conclusion. You said that, false ego, pride can lead you to, your downfalls. And Indra is very known for that. And also, we are so powerful and like we think that we are so powerful and we disrespect the mercy. That mercy can lead you to anywhere, and that's what happened. And you know what? Cooperation with a higher purpose, I like that the most, because sometimes we also feel that, oh my God, why I always have to compromise? Why I always have to do this? But you have to understand that, when you compromise on the small things, God have bigger and better plan for you. So, you achieve the best. And last but not least, God is all powerful. We have to totally surrender to Him. We have to have the trust on Him that He's going to do it. But again, whatever efforts we do, if it's not, we don't have the God's mercy, we cannot achieve that. And we are meditating on the whole Damodar month on the mercy and the efforts only. And without Krishna's mercy, Maya never can, die Krishna. So all glories to Damodar month and Krishna's mercy. Yeah, and I like the another point which is very important, which is, Lord always like to glorify his devotees. And that's why he could have, you said, he could have drank the nectar in a snap of the minute. But what he did, he invited, like he requested Shiva to drink the nectar, and Shiva did it. So that's the glorification for his devotees. So thank you so much for elaborating so nicely. Now I would like to open this floor for questions. If anyone have any question, please unmute yourself and ask, else you can type it in chat box. I can read it for you. Any comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my most humble obeisances at your lotus feet, and my pranams to all the Vaishnavas assembled here. That was a great presentation, very nicely put together. The flow was amazing. It was very systematic. So yeah, thank you for taking us through that journey. Once again, this is one pastime that we all relish, but yeah, you took us through that whole journey very systematically, and I could actually visualize everything that you were saying. So thank you. Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for as always wonderful comment and realizations. Anybody else have anything? Rukmavati Mataji, please go ahead.
Hari Bol, Ananga Mohini Mataji. Thank you so much for a lovely class. I cannot imagine such a small girl, 8 years old when you were there, and and now she's giving us such a beautiful class. So yeah, I have a question. You spoke about cooperation, right? So when you have an issues with or conflicts with your parents, so how do you cooperate for a higher goal?
That's a good question. um, Well, I think my main thing, obviously, a parent and child relationship is something, obviously my parents have the right to chastise me and completely, if I do anything wrong, um, they of course have that right. So obviously there's times where I get aggravated, or I get like, I think I'm right, or I think, I like it, I'm right. Like they don't know, like they don't understand. But I feel like ultimately, um, it's that realization that like, they are always wishing well for me. And especially I've seen what's in my life that like, always when my parents say something, they always end up right. If I do the opposite, I always like screw up, I always go wrong. So I guess those are like some things that have helped me understand that they've when they correct me or they chastise me, that they're right, and that they've seen more than I have in life. And it's I will disagree, I might fight back, I might argue back, but ultimately, um inside, that's kind of what I come to. If that answers.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, one important quality I would like to appreciate about you, like I have noticed a lot of times that you are so patient. That I have learned that quality from you. So thank you very much.
That is not true, Mataji. My parents could attest to that, but I'm trying to put that in depth. Thank you, Mataji, for your blessings.
Thank you. So there is a question in the quiz question from Ramchandra Prabhu in the chat box, if anybody would like to attempt that. And Ramchandra Prabhu have raised his hand. So Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna. Very nice class, Ananga. Spoken from your heart. My question, I have one question, which is that many times we hear that in when there's conflicts between two parties, generally we should not get involved, should not take sides. And how come here the Lord took sides of one party? Because end of the day, even the Lord took side of one party in Mahabharata also. So it wasn't that gray that one should sometimes. How do you explain that? On one side, we hear we should not. Devotees easily say that we shouldn't take sides, and then here we see the Lord taking sides, and where clearly there's a wrong on one side.
Yes. I'll just say a little bit from what my understanding is. I feel the main thing with the Lord taking sides, whether it be the Mahabharata or whether it be this, is the surrender. It's not like, obviously, the demigods and the demons, we obviously know that there's one side that's right, and the demigods are more righteous, and the demons always tend to get into conflicts that are for their self-interest and are for their, they want this kingdom, they want etc etc. But for one thing, the main thing is that the demigods approached the Lord for help. The Lord didn't intervene, on his own. He didn't intervene at his own, with his own effort. The demigods went to him. I feel like that's what made the biggest difference. And Krishna, as he says that according to one's surrender, he reciprocates. So that surrender, that pulls the demigods to go to the Lord and have faith in his plan. And similarly with the Mahabharata, when Arjuna and Duryodhan both went to the Lord, one was asking for his army and one was asking for the Lord. So completely Arjuna had gone and ultimately, surrender, ultimately had that relationship with the Lord where he had faith and he had trust. And because that trust is given to the Lord, I feel that's the prime reason that he allowed that intervention and he himself helped. That's my understanding.
Very good answer. That's true. One point that you mentioned, because they approached the Lord as well, and the Lord also sees, right, who's doing what. The Prashran, they were not demons, so-called demons, but in that case also, he gave a chance to the Kauravas. Also, he said, "Do you need me? Can I help you? Do you?" And they refused help from the Lord as well. Very nice.
Thank you, Prabhu, for wonderful questions, and thank you, Mataji, for wonderful explanations. At this young age, you have very given the wise answer. Thank you. Now I see Madhusita Mataji have raised her hand. Mataji, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Ananga, Mohini. Very beautiful presentation, as usual. Ananga Mohini is part of our Sunday school, and I'm so proud of her that now she's going on the right direction. She's ready for take up the more responsibility now of teaching. So very well put everything, Ananga Mohini. And I just wanted to make a few points here. I really like that Lord is always willing to help. I mean, Lord always takes side of the demigods, right? And that's so true because he's always his mission is to establish the religious principles always. So he is going to favor somehow or the other, right? Whoever follows the regulative principles, religious principles. So definitely he's always going to be in favor of demigods. And second is glorifying, as Mataji also mentioned, glorifying his devotees. So he looks for the opportunity where he can glorify his devotees. And he gives them certain tasks to carry out. And the greatest example is Srila Prabhupada, of course, we know that. And also in our lives also, sometimes we are given the responsibility just, so that we can so that Lord can glorify us. So these things we have to be conscious about. And one more thing is that, like as you said, that mercy is there, but the effort is on our part. And sometimes I hear from people that people say that, "Arey, Bhagwan बुलाएंगे तब हम जाएंगे." भगवान की अभी mercy नहीं आई है अपने हम पे. But definitely you have the desire, but then how much effort you are taking to go to the temple to chant. Once you take that one step, then definitely Lord will shower his mercy. But if you don't do anything, then nothing is going to happen. So definitely it works simultaneously, right? Both things, your effort and mercy. So I really like that part. So thank you very much again. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Mataji. Mataji's been my Sunday school teacher since 2nd grade, and I really reflect back. Even yesterday was Thanksgiving, I was reflecting on this, and I was like, really, I don't know where I would have been without Sunday school. It's given, Mataji's really guided me in so many ways. So thank you so much, Mataji.
Very good. Thank you, Mataji. Now I see the Subhadrani Mataji have raised her hand. So Mataji, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Dandatnam to everyone. Algo Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Hare Krishna, beta. It's a wonderful class, and yeah, it's the way you have presented as usual. Every time it will be good only. Yeah. So my question is, this when Mohini is pouring the nectar, she's she's herself is Vishnu. So why can't she stop when Rahu was taking the nectar before that?
Mhm.
Why
Mm.
after the drop went in head and everything?
That's a good question, Mataji. Honestly, I'll say based on my understanding a little bit. I'm not exactly sure though, but I feel one was just like obviously everything in the past time happens for a reason, and even Rahu has his own function, like in the world, and the story mentioned that after he became a planet, and there's like astrological influence and all that we hear. So I think the purpose, like though she could have stopped and she was Lord Vishnu, I think the purpose was it was I guess the purpose of the pastime, and because Rahu's like presence as a planet, kind of. I'm not sure if I don't think that properly answers, but if anyone would like to add.
I think I have read it once that when Rahu drank the poison, right, it was before the poison went through, actually, inside his body, his head was cut off. So we can see the effect of nectar. I mean, not the poison, sorry, nectar. So we can see the effect of nectar because it just remained in his throat. That part was, still alive, whereas where the nectar didn't flow, that part was basically dead. So that was the effect of nectar, that his head remained as is.
And I
So
also think
Bhadravati Mataji, your question, which is पहले क्यों नहीं किया बाद में क्यों किया? Is that right?
पहले ही क्यों रोका नहीं?
भगवान पहले ही करेंगे तो फिर आगे कुछ होगा ही नहीं. इसके लिए फिर भगवान, कई बार लोग बोलते हैं, पीपल टेल कि भगवान ये गाजा में होने क्यों दिए, गरीब होने क्यों दिए, सब वही करेंगे तो फिर आगे क्या होगा, फिर ये मटेरियल वर्ल्ड का कोई प्रॉब्लम यही नहीं है. So certain things happen by its own accord, but when the Lord sees that this is going to cause destruction or it's going to harm the devotees, then he will intervene.
Yeah. But ऐसा है कि राहु चार्ट में है तो बैड टाइम आता है बोलते हैं ना प्रभु जी. सो इसीलिए मेरे को लगा कि पहले ही करते तो वो बैड टाइम
अपने आप से हमारे बैड में नहीं आता. राहु का रिएक्शन आता है बिकॉज हमारा ही कर्म का रिएक्शन राहु के थ्रू हमको मिलता है. So that is also there because there are going to be people. अगर सब अच्छे ही planets होते तो कोई भी किसी को मारने के बाद बोलेगा मेरे तो अच्छे planets चल रहे हैं. तो राहु का भी creation is because of that also. And प्रभुपाद ये भी बोले हैं कि प्रभुपाद ये भी सपोर्ट किए हैं कि हम लोग कृष्ण की शरण लेने से हम एक राहु के 1000 राहु को कृष्ण उसको हटा सकते हैं. ये एक एग्जाम्पल है. प्रभुपाद नेक्टर लीलामृत में भी लिखा हुआ है. लीलामृत नहीं, प्रभुपाद नेक्टर्स में एक बुक है, उसमें लिखा हुआ है. Where one devotee who went to Radhakund, and Radhakund में उसको पंडित को मिला, पंडित को devotee. This is when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and the pandit said that उसको दिखाया कि मेरा ये टाइम है, तो उसने पूरा हॉरोस्कोप चार्ट बना के बोला कि तेरा बहुत राहु का दशा है, तो ये पहन, गले में ये पहन करके वो पहन के फिर टेम्पल आया. तो उधर उसको ब्रह्मानंद महाराज ने देखा, बोला ये क्या पहना है, तो ये सब कंठीमाला के साथ. तो बोला मैं गया था राधा कुंड, वहां पे मुझे बोला राहु का मेरा को प्रभाव है तो इसके लिए पहना है. तो बोला कि तुझे पता नहीं कि प्रभुपाद हमें बोले हैं कि ये सब में नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए, हमको शिव भगवान के शरण और भगवान का हमको पूरा विश्वास होना चाहिए. तो बोला ये मुझे प्रभुपाद के मुख से ही सुनना है, मुझे प्रभुपाद के मुख से तो ना, मुझे प्रभुपाद का बोलेंगे तो मैं निकाल दूंगा. तो प्रभुपाद को जाके बोले ऐसा हुआ है, तो बोले ठीक है उसको कल सुबह को बुलाओ. पर कल सु नेक्स्ट डे बुलाया उसको डिवोटी को, और वो जब जाके प्रणाम किए, खड़े रहे, उधर देखे, प्रभुपाद बोले उसको कि एक राहु क्या 1000 राहु को कृष्ण एक लात से हटा सकते हैं, हमको भगवान पे श्रद्धा होनी चाहिए, तुम्हें भगवान पे निष्ठा नहीं है, इसके लिए तुम ये सब के पीछे पड़े हो। सो राहु का प्रभाव हमारे पे, वैष्णवों पे नहीं होता, और जब होता भी है तो वो भी मर्सीफुल होता है, वो राहु का प्रभाव नहीं होता, वो भगवान की कृपा होती है हम पे।
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot, Prabhuji. Yeah, it's wonderful to know that Prabhupada's words are golden words for us. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji, and thank you, Ananga Mohini, for everything. Yeah, you are all-rounder, and may Lord bless you in doing all the services more and more.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone have any other question or comment? All right. If not, then we can end this call here. So today is Friday. Everybody has their own Bhakti Vriksha. So please, without fail, attend the Bhakti Vriksha today's, and we'll see all of you in respected Bhakti Vriks. If nothing else, we can end this call. And before ending, I would like to thank you, Ananga Mohini Mataji, for amazing quality time. Actually, we heard this so many times, but whenever we listen or hear the story again, we have, always new realizations. So thank you for giving me another new realization today. I would like to thank you, Ramchandra Prabhu, and entire Bergen management team for giving me this opportunity to host it. I try to justify in my capacity, so thank you so much. So Hare Krishna, Jai Draupadi Mataji or something, Bali Maharaj. Oh, she answering the question. All right. So Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. And we'll see you on Sunday, everyone, and today in Bhakti Riksha. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Don't forget to break the fast. It's already time is fast. So hope everybody have broken the fast. Thank you
So
so
no class
much.
tomorrow?
Yeah, sorry, Prabhu. Yes, we have
It's
class.
Sunday. What about Saturday tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow we have class same time
Okay.
at 8:30. Sorry, 8 o'clock, and the class is going to be given by Her Grace Madhusita Mataji. She is going to talk about on the Srimad Bhagavatam Lord Shiva's beguile. So that's the interesting story she's going to cover tomorrow. So please do not forget to attend tomorrow again same time 8 o'clock. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tari.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.